What's up, boys? It's Lanky Llama here to discuss the hugely terrible DRM implemented by none other than Sony PlayStation. Uh, this has been doing the rounds. It's been great to kind of watch it develop for the last few days. Thank God I didn't do a video on it day one because it's just kind of changed every day as everyone has dove more into it and had their say. Ultimately, I think a couple different things, which is one, I didn't think it would affect me ever that much, but two, I just don't like it, and I don't think that it would be great to have. But if you're new here, please consider liking and subscribing. But also, if you don't know what's going on, let's just dive right into it from the trusty Push Square. Although I gotta say, this is an article by Sammy Barker. I was a little disappointed with some of his commentary on Twitter in response to Mr. Matty Plays, but that's not what this is about. Let's just go through it. So this is the original story. There's been a number of updates. I want to go through those. But again, Push Square, Sammy Barker, PS5 DRM issues. Thank you. There's been huge concern among PS5 and PS4 owners today regarding an alleged form of DRM introduced by Sony, which appears to suggest owned software will expire within a period of 30 days. However, it's important to caution that the reporting thus far is inconsistent. There's been no comment from the company itself, and that remains the case. And there have even been some suggestions of the issue already being resolved. So here's what we know, or what we knew. Some newly purchased PS4 games have started to display a validity period of 30 days. Based on our testing, the issue only appears to be affecting PS4 games purchased within the last few weeks. We've been unable to replicate the disclaimer on a PS5, although some on social media claim they've seen the message there as well. Some reporting suggests this timer resets if you connect to the internet after it expires. We've been unable to confirm this for ourselves. I don't know what they were doing to confirm it, but it clearly wasn't enough because other people have done it on video, seemingly quite easily. So the issue first emerged in late March, and reporting on this started to circulate as far back as late March, although it's only picked up, blah, blah, blah. It's worth pointing out that a very similar issue occurred with the PS3 and Vita back in 2022, which was resolved. One Twitter account dedicated to game preservation, Destruction Games, claims that if the CMOS battery in your console dies or is removed, any game showing the validity window will no longer boot. You may recall there was a big hullabaloo around this in 2021, which Sony actually fixed. The CMOS battery effectively exists to retain date and time information, which allows the console to authenticate trophy unlocks. Like any battery, it has a shelf life and will eventually stop working. Really great solution, Sony. But while it's an easy component to replace, again, what a fantastic, elegant, consumer-friendly solution, an earlier version of the PS4 firmware required the console to connect to the PSN to verify the date and time upon being replaced. Many were concerned that in the faraway future, if the PSN should ever be taken offline, it's not called PSN anymore, we don't know what it's going to be called, this handshake would become impossible, rendering all software unplayable. But Sony actually patched this in V9.00. So it's interesting to see a new issue rear its ugly head some 5 years later. It could be a bug. I never liked this explanation. One thing worth reporting is that some users on Reddit claim the validity period was present on their games up until recently and has since been removed. Does It Play, meanwhile, an account dedicated to testing whether software will run offline, mostly for physical games, claims to have heard from an anonymous insider that the issue is unintentional. The account writes, from what we gathered, Sony accidentally broke something while fixing an exploit. They've known about the confusing UI for a while, but didn't see it as urgent. This is funny. Wait for more information from Sony. Would be great to get any information from Sony. They just don't speak ever these days. Our view on this is that it's very likely an error. Don't know why that would be your view. While we certainly understand the cynicism and concern around this, the reporting is far too inconsistent for this to be working as intended. As we've outlined in this article, some are seeing the error and others are not. It also only appears to be occurring with newly purchased software, specifically on the PS4. That's not true. We'll be the first to criticize a platform holder if this does. You'll be the first. You're already the last. If this does turn out to be a new type of DRM, but with no communication from the company and a lot of misinformation flooding social media, we'd urge everyone to stay calm until more details emerge. I don't know if it really works like that. I don't know why you would remain calm in a situation where it seems that Sony who already has essentially complete control over your digital library, can turn that off and on like a spigot. I don't know if that's a reason to stay calm. So here's some updates, which I don't super love how they did it. I didn't really dive into this one, so we'll go in cold together for this one, boys. It's early on Monday afternoon as we update this, but we're still waiting for comment from Sony. Crazy. You said to wait for a comment from Sony, but you're going to provide an update. But a new video from Modded Warfare does provide a pretty good summary of the problem. This issue only appears to affect newly purchased PS4 software for now. Again, that's not true. There's still uncertainty around whether PS5 is impacted as well. There's not. So maybe we don't even need to do it, because here's Spawnwave. This was a great video. Spawnwave did a good thing. He's extremely technically knowledgeable. He actually pops the CMOS battery right out of the console on a PS5 Pro. PS5 push square. Did you write that down? There had been confusion about whether the PS5, there wasn't to me, about whether the PS5 was affected by Sony's alleged new DRM, which requires you to connect to the internet every 30 days to verify your game licenses. It's because, unlike the PS4, there's no disclaimer in the game information which states when your software will expire. But Spawnwave put together a great video. In it, he tests 4 games: Saint Slayer from Lily Mo Games, purchased digitally; Vampire Crawlers from the Vampire Survivors developer; Crimson Desert from Pearl Abyss; and Pragmata from Capcom, which was physical. All 4 games boot normally when the console's connected to the internet, no surprise. They also boot just fine when taken offline. Again, not really a surprise. But in order to confuse the console's time verifier, he removes, as I said, the CMOS battery from his Pro. And in these conditions, Saint Slayer and Vampire Crawlers, again, recently released games, both digital, they no longer load. Crimson Desert does boot, despite showing a lock symbol, which I did think was interesting. And Pragmata works as usual off the disk. The error message is, can't use this content, can't connect to the server to verify your license. That's DRM. Wait a while, then try again. Yeah, we'll wait a while and try again and get the same results, Sony, just like we'll wait a while, like Push Square and others told us to do, to not hear from you. All 4 games operate as usual when reconnected to the internet. There are multiple concerns here. Thought we weren't allowed to have concerns, with the most worrying being that Sony has implemented a new form of DRM. We've contacted the company and are still waiting for a response. We'll settle down, Push Square. Just wait for them to make a comment. At best, this is a bug. I don't know why this is the best case scenario. This is a bug which will need to be fixed, because if it remains like this, there's a very real worry about preservation. In the current scenario, if your CMOS battery were to fail and Sony had taken its servers offline, your purchases would be rendered worthless. They wouldn't be rendered worthless. I don't think that's the right language. They would be rendered unusable and inaccessible. That's not worthless. That's something worse than that. It's worth reiterating here, there's no evidence whatsoever of your licenses being revoked if you fail to check in. This is only affecting newly purchased games, but however, there's enough evidence mounting now to demand a comment from the company. Listen, I really like Push Square and Sammy Barker, but I'm not loving the editorializing here. We're deep into Tuesday now and still no comment from Sony. Should we still remain calm, Push Square? We now have confirmation that the 30-day expiry timer is affecting software purchase within the past few weeks on both PS5 and PS4, but we still don't know if it's intentional or an error. What error would lead to this? I don't know. This is the big one, though. This kind of just came out in the last 2 hours. So, a credible theory on reset error by user and Shrew. Not a big reset error guy, but this was good stuff. It's worth noting that while the research seems logical, it has been corroborated by preservation account Does It Play. We're still waiting on an official statement from the manufacturer, so don't take any of this as confirmation. But here's the theory. It's a type of temporary DRM designed to combat a potential loophole being exploited by some consumers. According to Andrew's research, purchasing a digital game issues a temporary 30-day offline license usage. This license transitions to a permanent license when you connect to the PSN 14 days after making your purchase. From that point onwards, your game will be permanently playable offline. The idea is that this exceeds Sony's 2-week refund window. The manufacturer issues refunds on digital software that's been purchased but never booted. It's therefore speculated that some people have been downloading games, immediately taking their consoles offline, requesting a refund, and then retaining ownership of the software. This new licensing system, it's argued, is designed to combat that. It certainly explains a lot, like why some people have seen the 30-day expiry timer suddenly disappear. But we can't help but wonder how many people are actually taking advantage of this loophole, and if it's truly worth all of the hassle to Sony. Assuming this is the case, then it should be fairly easy to prove over the coming weeks. But what would be more straightforward is if the manufacturer came out and made a comment. To summarize, newly purchased digital games have a 30-day offline license attached. If you connect to the PSN at any point after the 14th day of purchase, the license will become permanent and you'll be able to play your game offline in perpetuity. Unless their servers go offline, right, Sammy? Didn't you say that? Kind of reminds me of this guy. This is Twitter now. William Aguilar. I've seen some good stuff from him. I don't really have an opinion of him. But the TLDR, wait for an official comment from Sony PlayStation, not an AI reply, before jumping to conclusions. I know a lot of people are concerned about this supposed 30-day DRM. However, there are several points I would like people to be aware of before panicking. The terms of service have not changed. There's been no official statement, although AI chatbots and others talking to real human supports have gotten mixed messages on this. For games that you do not own but that you have license access to, there's always been a type of DRM for them because they aren't owned by you. This includes PlayStation Plus monthly games, catalog games, game sharing from friends, those games. If your subscription expires, blah, 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 game sharing, I understand that. That is a Wi-Fi powered service and feature, so that makes sense to me. There's also the possibility that the situation might be related to some people not having their PS5 set as their primary device. I don't agree with that. The CMON's battery issue affects the internal clock. This was an issue for PS5, not PS4, for PS4, not PS5, and it was fixed. You will still be able to play downloaded games on your PS5 even in 15 years when the original CMOS battery dies. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. I didn't know that. But if it does die and you don't get it replaced, you might not be able to connect to the internet to download the games you own on your digital account, but the ones that are already downloaded should play just fine. Actually, I take it back. That still stinks. However, by the time the CMOS batteries for PS5 fail, we will be on the PS6 or PS6 generation. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. No. We'll have a new box by then, your old box. Who cares? As Push Square would say, your old box is rendered worthless. It is likely that if this DRM change is actually being applied to digital games that you own, not the ones you have license access to, that it is a bug that will soon be fixed. If this is an actual new policy change, Sony will make it official at either the corporate strategy meeting or the business segment meeting for games and services. I don't know what the N stands for there. I thought it was services, in May. So again, don't love this kind of company line thing we're doing where we just have to wait around for Sony. And, because there's been no change to the terms of service, we just need to wait for them to make a comment on it. Oh, it's probably just a bug. It's a mistake. It wasn't a mistake when they took the PlayStation 3 store down. Wasn't a mistake when PSN shut down and they didn't really say anything for 21 days or whatever that was. That was a hack. I know they were victims there, but perhaps victims of their own hubris, as they've often been. So really, I guess my main takeaway here from all this is don't love the reporting, boys. Why are we defending this? And it is funny. I do have, somewhat deep political opinions. And I don't want to be overly political, but I did think if you lose access to digital games, if you don't sign in within a 30-day window to the internet, what then happens to people who travel or are deployed in the military? This might be the first ever time I defend something through the guise of the military. But as the military has been weaponized against the taxpayer, I will weaponize the military against Sony and say, really, what would these boys do? They're deployed. They don't have access to the internet. Although, how true is that? I don't know. But let's say that they don't, and they just want to blow some steam off playing PS5 in the heat of battle. Seems as good a time as any to fire up Returnal or something. They would lose access to that, or maybe they don't even bring their box. Maybe that's not even the angle you want to go. They don't bring their box. They get deployed. They come home in 9 months. They can't play their games. But then even then, see, even as I'm saying this, it's like, it's hard to imagine a PS5 user never being connected to the internet. Couldn't imagine it. I had an issue with everything. I got new Wi-Fi. Everything in my house worked pretty great. I do think FIFA sucks as a game. I had issues with FIFA connectivity online. Wired everything in my living room, hardwired. PS5 upstairs in my bedroom, still wouldn't connect. Wouldn't connect to the internet. Really, really frustrating. Get on the phone with Verizon. They have me fix some kind of inane things, and it works just fine. But why is it? And that happened twice. I had a base PS5 that I traded up to a PS5 Pro. Both of them in my bedroom upstairs would not connect. Every other device upstairs works fine, including this whole setup I got here. Works just fine, not wired in. Just the Sony box, shocker, didn't work. That was a situation where I was, again, I want to be connected to the internet, so I wasn't trying to get around it, but it was just frustrating that the console was effectively rendered useless, not worthless. Push square, Sammy. Maybe dial in your word choices. But really, this isn't great. This does harken back to Don Matrick and the Xbox One DRM, which Sony themselves made fun of, right? And now they're going back to this, and we got media outrunning defense saying this is a bug. This isn't a bug. And then, in fairness to Push Square, the 2-week refund window of, that may have created an exploit that people are doing. Only they would know, and they would never say the true, the true impact of that, the true prevalence of that. Can't imagine it's very high. First of all, because I've never heard of Sony giving anybody a refund. Like, maybe ever. I know Steam is big for that. Sony and Microsoft aren't great with that. There's only one game I've ever gotten where I thought, this is a refund, and I wish I went through with it, but I didn't. And that was Windbound. Completely unplayable, crashed every time I booted it. Played for more than 20 minutes or so on my Xbox. I can't remember if it was the Series X or the Xbox One that I played that on. I want to say Series X because I feel like it came out in 2020 or 2021, but I could be wrong. But anyway, you just don't get refunds from these guys. So really, how often could it really be happening? And then just this idea of when you buy a game, you're given a temporary license. I don't like that at all. Don't like it at all. I bought it. Just take the license back from me if I refund. Isn't that the easiest solution? Like, why do I then have to pass another check to have the game? I don't really understand that. I don't know. Maybe it's like it doesn't really harm me, so why would I be worried about it? I don't know, guys. I just don't like it, and it points to these pain in the ass physical guys who are going to say, turns out grass isn't always greener on the digital side. No, it is. I have hundreds of games. I can't even, look at my shelf back there. It's books. I have books all over the place. I don't have a shelf for that. I don't have space. I don't want to get up and walk and put a disc in a drive and have that. Oh, God. Going back to disc would be horrible. Most games don't even come with manuals or fun things in them. That's why I believe it's Sandy Bry makes his own game manuals for specific games. That's really cool. It's also a little weird to me because you would know that it's aftermarket, wouldn't you? And then it kind of loses its luster a bit. It's like an Etsy shop video game shirt. It just feels like it's cool. I've bought them. I've made my own video game shirts that don't exist, and that's cool for me. I'm not saying it's not cool. It's just like, it's not official. It's not official. So anyway, what do you all think about this new temporary license that seems... I'd like to give you some advice to remain calm until Sammy and William say that Sony has spoken in a fair enough way that you can therefore have feelings. Until then, however, please stay the course. Do not speak up. Do not, because Sony will ultimately tell us how to feel. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I do game news and reviews and other content on here. I also have a podcast, Seriously Irrelevant. Enjoyed spending this lengthy time reading to you today as I tell you about another time Sony, despite being the dominant platform holder in the industry, continues to not care about any of the people that have made them into a PlayStation company more than an electronics company. Have a good day.